Thank you very much for coming to this event. It's a great honor for us. Today we've had 7 weeks of warm winds and sun. And yesterday the winds came in. So now we know autumn is here. And winds we like in the ports because it's good for environment. I'll do a brief introduction of what Copenhagen Malmo Port is about. I think some of you know a great deal about us. We started the company in 2001, and it's thanks to the bridge why kill each other with 2 ports on 2 sides of the water when you can join forces. And I think we are one of the few ports that are in 2 countries, 2 cities, as one company, as a private company. And in 2011, we decided to have a new business idea where we want to integrate ourselves more with the European network of logistics. And many times if you look from the outside of Europe, you think of Scandinavia as far away, but actually it's only 300 kilometers to Hamburg. So we're not that far away. Our vision is bridging, and it's not because of the bridge, it's because bridging relations like we're doing today. Also expanding. In 2008, we went through big investments. We have invested in the ports for the last 5 years, about 2 billion Swedish crowns, plus in infrastructure, and then another couple of hundred in machinery. And all the machineries that have been bought are as eco-friendly as they can be at that time. Leading is that we only want to do things that we're good at. 100% is always our aim. And I think that's a very important message. We are a terminal facility. We have a contract with the municipality of Copenhagen and Malmo, and it's a 25-year lease agreement, which we prolong every 5th year. And you can see on this picture where we have the different commodities within the port. So it's been a fantastic trip for us to do this integration. Even though we're 2 different nations and with all the different culture aspects between different ways of thinking. But from our sense, it's very positive because we have the Copenhagen way of doing things, the Copenhagen Malmo Port way of doing things, instead of saying that it should be the Danish way or it should be the Swedish way. It's more looking from a pragmatic way from the company's perspective. And I think that's one of the reasons why we've been successful. This you probably know because 80% here are Europeans, so you know where we're situated. This is the biggest project we took on. This is a project on the Swedish side that we started on in May of 2009 and inaugurated in 2011. And for us, it was very important when we were finished with this project because the EU funded us some money of this, about 6 million euros. And 6 million compared to 100 million is not a lot of money, but it was an acknowledgement that we are doing something right from a European perspective. And this is before all the core port discussion came along. We are core ports both in Malmo and in Copenhagen. This is the vision on the Malmo side, and why we think we're very proud of the design of this terminal because it's very close. We have some colleagues here that you can talk to later on, but the physical design of it. But it's all the different products go together, and it's also an issue where we can do. For instance, a trade-free zone, and that means that from container, ro-ro to railway to logistic park, everything would be within 15 to 30 minutes with pre-clearance and everything. And I think that's a very unique selling point, not perhaps within the EU, but for goods outside of the EU. Because as you know, one of the critical issues today is to discharge a container and getting out of the port on a truck or on a railway. That's probably one of the biggest issues we have right now, and also from an environmental perspective, how you can do this better. On the Danish side, we are, as we speak, looking or investigating how we will build a new container terminal. Last year, on the right-hand side of the picture, far down, you can see we inaugurated a cruise facility where we have 3 berths, 3 different terminals, and then you see the new container terminal, and that's what we're investigating now, if how it will make sense to build this terminal in the future. Also, the red dotted line is the new road infrastructure that will connect the port and this area of Copenhagen, Nordhavnen, to the city of Copenhagen. And as you know, Copenhagen is a very beautiful and old city. There's a lot of issues when it comes to building new roads and so on. And the red and orange dotted lines on the picture is the new metro system that will be done, and that will help a lot when it comes to the traffic situation within the city. And some of you were at last night at the reception. You heard Morten Kabel talking about green fields within the port and getting bicycles and everything connected into green fields and so on. And that's also been a very important thing when we've designed this, that we have greenfield areas within the port. Cruise business has been very important for us. We've gone from 25 years up to 330 calls, close to 1 million passengers. And that's also a different infrastructure issue, because normally you talk about calls, but it's not only calls that are important, it's how big the ships are, how large the ships are, and how many passengers are on the ships, because that's what's driving the issues when it comes to infrastructure. And in cruise business, from a historical point of view, is very rich people. Today, the different carriers, it's everything from a normal mid-income family to the most rich people. And all of them have different demands when they come into a port. And the biggest day this year, I think we had 22,500 people changing ships within 8 hours in a quay wall that's 1,100 meters. That is an issue to get along with. And as you know, the ships are not getting smaller. They're getting larger. So in the future, we will have turnarounds with 30 to 35,000 people. So that's interesting. Or should I call it a challenge? We also, there's an island, I should have a map here, but there's an island of the Baltic Sea, an island called Gotland. And there's a medieval city that's on the UNESCO list called Visby. And we will build a new cruise quay wall there, and we will inaugurate it the 2nd of April 2018. And one can wonder, why are we doing this? Because the logic is that we do the most of the turnarounds in Copenhagen on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And this is roughly 12-hour sailing. And it's on the way, and it's between Stockholm and Copenhagen. And most cruise ships we have here go between Copenhagen and Stockholm. So that means we can sell one more stop on the way, and it fits into the schedule on the weekends. This took us 18 months from idea to contract. So that's been fantastic. Focus on environmental issues. I think the biggest thing, one could say this is corporate blah blah when you look at pictures like this, because many people will say that yes, we have to have a creative balance, corporate social responsibility. It's in our annual reports. But I think the biggest thing for us is the holistic view. What can we actually do, and how can we prevent things of going in the wrong direction? And how will we actually see the investments we do, that they will give us a less environmental issue in the future? These are also things that are methods for moving forward. I would say the most important on this slide is, how do we measure? What kind of standards do we have to measure when we compare what we do between the different ports? Because everybody wants to be best in class. Is that a yes? But how do we compare it from a sensible way? How do we get the different vendors of machinery? How do we do these measurements? I think that's very important for the future. Because it's always easy to say, I've done this and I've done that, but what effects will it have on the long run? And not only for the port, even around the port. Because from our perspective, we make the decisions that are in the port. But at the same time, we have a borderline to the cities. And that's another thing, that because we have 2 cities, 2 ports, and we were lucky in that sense that both Malmo and Copenhagen have a very ambitious way of looking how to become, for example, CO2 neutral in pretty close time. It's 2025, so that's not far away. We've also invested when it comes to waterways, and I was quite new in the port when we invested in a torpedo. I mean, every man wants a torpedo. It's actually a submarine that we can shut off the ports in 3 different ways if we have an oil spill. We were the first company in the world that did this. And when we invested it, we said, fantastic with this technology. But what we didn't foresee is how much more we had to invest to get this thing to work. Because if you're the first one to do it, it'll cost a lot more than your budget. And the second thing was quite funny when we had TV there, because media we send out, we have bought a torpedo. So media comes to us, television, everything, and they're thinking about some war where they're seeing torpedoes going, boom. Our torpedo did 2 knots, dun, 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 dun. So they had to reclip when they did the television interview, because they didn't have so much time on television to see how we closed the port. But we can laugh about it today, but at the same time, we save about 2 hours time with this torpedo. Now it goes at 5 knots, so just that is more than double. But it's been concrete things that actually will help if we have a crisis in the port. And I think and sometimes you have to take risks when you do this sort of investments, not only in torpedoes. Also, noise has become a large issue here in the Nordics, and also there, I'll show you a picture later on where we've done concrete matters. Lately, we've done, forgot that, is the firewater system that we've invested here in Copenhagen with new boats that we can do lenses and so on. So we're doing everything because we know the oil business for us has been growing a lot, and we have to have our environmental permits to do the oil business, and then if we have an accident, we should be able to do it in a very quick way. Also, we've done measurements when it comes to what the ocean bed looks like, because as you know, ports normally have had old industry within the port or close to the port that's not been too clean. And here we work together with universities to measure the seabed and things that we've done to actually see that the things we've invested in make sense, and fish are coming back, and eggs are planted, and so on. But then, I mean, from this picture, it's high and low, and one of the things that we've been from a management point of view, we've looked into eco driving. That means that everybody that works in the port has to do eco driving, and we've saved about 20% of fuel. And we have competitions between dockers and office people to show how good they are doing at eco driving, and that's more from a management point of view. But it's the combination working with university and from a theoretical point of view that you can change things, and also doing it from a managerial point of view to make sure that people think environment. And I think that's very, very important. I remember one thing when we bought some straddle carriers with kinetic particle filters. It was very difficult to get some of the vendors to actually invest in this, because they said it will have a downside on the engine. And then I started wondering who's buying what. And it's same thing with some of the bigger vendors is to get battery-driven trucks in the ports. Not a lot of European manufacturers want to do that because they like the combustion engine. I think we as ports, we actually have to say that batteries or new technology is very important for us. We cannot only do the old stuff. This is the mapping of the noise that we've done. This is on the Copenhagen side. And this is also a big issue for us because when we're increasing the different commodities, for instance, in cruise business, where we can have 7 ships in the port at the same time, plus that the city is growing very rapidly, close to where we have the cruise facilities. And I think that will be the next step for us, is to get a better understanding for how noise works and the different decibels that are in place here. Some say it's 45 and others say it's 55, depending if you're looking from a road perspective or from a living environment or from an industrial environment. On the Swedish side, when we built the northern terminals or northern port, we got the ships out of the city, and we reduced 1,250 trucks in the city center per day. We also, the turnarounds for ships were reduced by 30 minutes per call. And those are also small things that are very important when you change your way of looking at a port, that you have these side effects. Also, we've designed and have done some investments with the city to make sure that the road system and the railway system brings down the total lead time, so you have a better traffic flow. It's like any bigger city that traffic is coming more and more, even though we're doing everything to reduce cars, it's still an issue. Then we started measuring how we can change the ways of getting out of the port and into the port with the trucks, because in a lot of ports in the US, I know that they're changing the way of picking up containers to avoid the queues to pick up the containers, and that's also a way of measuring that you can, some days, for instance in Copenhagen, we open the port at 4 o'clock in the morning to avoid traffic for the trucks. So we'll have a better flow of getting the containers out of the port, especially on Mondays and Tuesdays. This is the ramp when it came to, because here we have both sides of the water, we have the same issues when it comes to noise pollution. So when we made the ramp for the Ro-Ro, we actually put some rubber in it and got down the decibels by 10. And that has been a good story, but then you always have to argue who has to pay the bill. And being a CEO of the port, we always pay everything. But the customer says, no, we're paying. So then you have to find some way of getting around that. This is the latest thing. Is Petra here? Petra? No, she's not there. She will come? No, she's not there. Oh, okay. This is industrial symbiosis is our next thing that we will do. This is actually 3 universities are involved in this, and this is, right now it's very theoretical, but it's how we can use the different parts of energy within a port. So you don't get any spill energy from the different factories or the different scrap yards or power plants and so on. So what we've done now is we've done a mapping, how to reuse all of this energy in different ways, and looking how we combine different sorts of industry to have a lesser of a footprint. And I think this, I hope it's not too, I like the picture, it's quite nice. But I think this will take some years before we get it fully down and practical use, but as I said before, this is based on measuring things and to see where you have, I'm doing mapping. And I'm hoping that we will get some effects of this within 3 years' time. I will be back at dinner so we can have a chat about this picture. So that was my presentation. Thank you very much for listening.